Welcome to this YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about 10 shocking facts about mental health. So before starting this video, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Mental health issues can affect anyone, regardless of age, race and economic, or social class, and, due to demographic and lifestyle factors, these are expected to rise. Here are 10 lesser-known facts about mental health and well-being you may know nothing about. Number 1. The majority of mental health issues are neither severe nor permanent. Whereas mental health tends to be associated with severe mental conditions, the term refers to a spectrum going from good health to severe illness. In fact, the World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities. The largest proportion of mental health issues are actually neither severe nor enduring but commonly mild to moderate short-lived mental health conditions. Global prevalence figures show that depression affects an estimated 300 million people worldwide, and anxiety disorders concern almost 4% of the world's population. These two conditions constitute the bulk of mental health problems. Number 2. In 2050, around 152 million people are expected to suffer from some form of dementia, with 68% in low and middle-income countries. Annual costs of dementia are expected to reach $2 trillion as early as 2030. A patient is diagnosed with dementia symptoms: memory loss, disorientation, erratic behaviors, difficulties with everyday tasks and language consistency, every 3 seconds worldwide, with Alzheimer's disease being the most common cause. Worldwide, this translates into almost 10 million new cases a year, amounting to over 50 million affected patients. According to the WHO, the annual cost of dementia is expected to more than double to $2 trillion by 2030, up from $818 billion in 2015, a major challenge for national healthcare systems and society. Number 3. Eco-anxiety is real and growing, and young people are particularly affected. In 2019, 68% of the world's population considered climate change to be a major threat. Many feel helpless and even despair at the vision of the environment's irremediable destruction, and of its consequences in their future and in that of the generations to follow. This has been termed eco-anxiety. Youth seems to be particularly affected, with 40% of 16 to 24-year-old in the United Kingdom, for example, saying they were concerned versus 29% in the overall population. Number 4. Gender matters in the prevalence of mental health disorders. Figures show that depression, anxiety, eating, and bipolar disorders are, on average, more prevalent among women, whereas schizophrenia and drug use disorders typically tend to be more common in men. In the United Kingdom, for example, 1 in 5 women experience mental health issues during pregnancy or in the first year after giving birth. Number 5. Diet impacts mental health in more ways than one. It has long been recognized that people's state of mind has an influence on their eating behavior. Conversely, there is growing evidence that food not only impacts well-being, but also the prevalence of some mental illnesses, depression, Alzheimer's, etc. For instance, populations on a Mediterranean diet have a 33% lower risk of suffering from depression, and the Washoku Japanese diet may lower the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by 36%. The gut's microbiota also seems to play a role, as it impacts our well-being and mind health through the gut-brain axis. A lack of a specific bacteria can, for example, be correlated with depression symptoms. Number 6. Sleep deprivation wakes up depression in societies where people sleep less overall. With modern lifestyle habits, the time people dedicate to sleep is shrinking. A 2019 study reveals the French sleep no more than 6 hours and 42 minutes a day on average. Up to 35.9% of the population's shut-eye is even under 6 hours. Globally, the proportion of sleep-indebted small sleepers is on the rise. Sleep is what determines overall health and well-being. Sleep deprivation is associated with many chronic diseases and conditions such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and depression. Number 7. About half of all cases of mental illness begin by the age of 14, and 75% of them develop before the age of 25. According to estimates, 10% of children and teenagers suffer from a clinically diagnosable mental illness, one of the leading causes of disability in young people. About half of all of these mental illness cases begins by the age of 14. Given its serious consequences in adult age and the positive outcomes of early treatment, addressing mental illness in young people is central to providing better livelihoods. Number 8. There is a strong correlation between social status and the development of common mental disorders. Studies show that the more unequal societies are, the more likely they are to suffer a wide range of health challenges, dependence habits, chronic diseases, self-isolation, and also social issues, reduced life expectancy, higher infant mortality, poor educational achievements, lower social mobility, and increased levels of violence. Accessibility to mental health treatment is widely dependent on a country's economic development level, so income inequalities also result in a larger number of untreated mental disorders. While 35% to 50% of severe mental health disorder sufferers in high-income countries receive no treatment, these numbers skyrocket to a 76% minimum in low-income countries. Social cohesion directly affects mental illness. Number 9. Burnout could cost an additional $190 billion to healthcare systems every year. As the health consequences of stress become increasingly recognized, work conditions have become the subject of close scrutiny. Burnout, physical or mental exhaustion, bore-out, boredom resulting from mental underload, and brownout, disengagement resulting from loss of meaning, are mental health conditions directly related to the workplace. The World Health Organization classified burnout as a clinical syndrome brought on by chronic workplace stress in May 2019. This may be the first step, before it is fully recognized as an occupational and work-related disease. The stigma surrounding burnout is gradually weakening, and its prevalence is now reported in all areas of society. Number 10. Your Instagram account may be harmful for your mental health. While the modern world is supposed to be increasingly open and connected, the feeling of loneliness persists. Social isolation, as a state of near or complete lack of contact between an individual and society, acts as a particularly significant catalyst in increasing the risk of mental disorders. Contrary to the initial promise made by the major social platforms, social media can in fact exacerbate the feeling of loneliness rather than connect people with new friends. According to one study, for every 10% rise in negative experience on social media, there was a 13% increase in loneliness. Furthermore, due to their intensive use of social media, the under 25-year-old population is more susceptible to social isolation, cyberbullying, and withdrawal. We will also discuss some common myths and their facts now. Myth: children don't experience mental health problems. Fact: even very young children may show early warning signs of mental health concerns. These mental health problems are often clinically diagnosable, and can be a product of the interaction of biological, psychological, and social factors. Half of all mental health disorders show first signs before a person turns 14 years old, and 3/4 of mental health disorders begin before age 24. Unfortunately, less than 20% of children and adolescents with diagnosable mental health problems receive the treatment they need. Early mental health support can help a child before problems interfere with other developmental needs. Myth: people with mental health problems are violent and unpredictable. Fact: the vast majority of people with mental health problems are no more likely to be violent than anyone else. Most people with mental illness are not violent, and only 3% to 5% of violent acts can be attributed to individuals living with a serious mental illness. In fact, people with severe mental illnesses are over 10 times more likely to be victims of violent crime than the general population. You probably know someone with a mental health problem and don't even realize it, because many people with mental health problems are highly active and productive members of our communities. Myth: people with mental health needs, even those who are managing their mental illness, cannot tolerate the stress of holding down a job. Fact: people with mental health problems are just as productive as other employees. Employers who hire people with mental health problems report good attendance and punctuality, as well as motivation, good work, and job tenure on par with or greater than other employees. Myth: personality weakness or character flaws cause mental health problems. People with mental health problems can snap out of it if they try hard enough. Fact: mental health problems have nothing to do with being lazy or weak, and many people need help to get better. Many factors contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors, such as genes, physical illness, injury, or brain chemistry, life experiences, such as trauma or a history of abuse, etc. Myth: there is no hope for people with mental health problems. Once a friend or family member develops mental health problems, he or she will never recover. Fact: studies show that people with mental health problems get better and many recover completely. Recovery refers to the process in which people are able to live, work, learn, and participate fully in their communities. There are more treatments, services, and community support systems than ever before, and they work. Myth: therapy and self-help are a waste of time. Why bother when you can just take a pill? Fact: treatment for mental health problems varies depending on the individual, and could include medication, therapy, or both. Many individuals work with a support system during the healing and recovery process. Myth: I can't do anything for a person with a mental health problem. Fact: friends and loved ones can make a big difference. Only 44% of adults with diagnosable mental health problems and less than 20% of children and adolescents receive needed treatment. Friends and family can be important influences to help someone get the treatment and services they need. What do you think of our video? Did you find this video helpful? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.